Okay, come on, let's get a close-up of this Christmas tree. Someone's put some effort into this. Look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? Even up there. In this video, I'm going to talk about 10 things that I've learned in 2025. Just my reflections on it, and I'm hoping that is useful. Stick to the end because the last one is my favourite one. But before this reflection, I was just going to address this background. I think it's amazing. I was just checking into the hotel and I just saw this really nice, amazing setup in the back. You know, it's like that scene from Home Alone 2 where he goes and visits that big tree. So I was feeling a bit nostalgic and I thought this is the perfect Christmas vibe. Number one, everybody's the centre of their own universe. And I've said this one before, but I just want to repeat this one because it really was a game changer for me. What it means is that everybody is living their own life. Right, so they're in the center of their own reality. And once you really start paying focus to this, you start realizing that nothing is personal. For example, as a dentist, sometimes you see you have 20-30 patients a day and somebody runs late. In the past I used to get a little bit frustrated, thinking, oh my god, this patient's running late, the next one might get affected, and the one after that. We start to realize that, wait a second, the patient didn't intend to be late, something's happening in their life. But nobody is really focusing on anybody else. It's like a huge relief. But if you really want to use it for your benefit, especially as a dentist, you can realize that A, nothing's personal, and B, the more you ask about their life, the more they're going to feel like they know you. I hope I made sense in that one. If I haven't, there is a video somewhere, I'll put a link here. Number two, and this is one that I wish I kind of paid attention to a few years ago. You can't help somebody that doesn't want to be changed. You can give all the advice you want to somebody, and that includes yourself as well. But if somebody is not ready for that change, you're gonna have to let them be. As long as you provided all the information you could and tried your best, there is a point where you need to stop. But expecting someone to change when they're not ready for it, it's actually stressful for both sides. So that's something that I'll start paying attention to this year. Try your best, but end of the day, it's up to for that individual to change, and don't take that burden on yourself. Number three, things only make sense backwards. And this is a little bit different than hindsight's being 2020. What I mean by that is, as you go through life, you speak to mentors. They'll tell you a story of how they got in that position, right? And everything just seems to make sense. Like, it's all sequential. They did this, and then they did this, and then they did this. And then they start leaving you doubts, thinking, wait a second, everything seemed to be making sense for them. And they had like a logical path. Why is my life or career not going as smoothly as XYZ? And then you start to realize, wait a second, it's always making sense for them now that they're looking back. While they were on that path, them decisions were not so clear cut. They only realized that as life's gone on and things are starting to make sense backwards. So it's a nice little reminder that I give myself sometimes that if my future or my next step is not so clear, don't worry too much about it. That is the normal way it's supposed to be. Okay, and number four, it's another one that is a bit all mushy, is trust your gut. And I've spoken about this before. You start to realize if the more you trust your gut, the more right choices, so to speak, you'll be making in life. I realize there's always one question that precedes this now, and I kind of look out for it, is when you ask somebody, what do you think? If you're ever in a situation, right, and you say to your friend, oh, what do you think? It's normally an indicator that you kind of only know, but you're just looking for some sort of validation. Because there's something deep in you that's recognized the pattern, even unconsciously. And Malcolm Gladwell talks about this a lot in his book, Blink, where unconsciously you know something's wrong. And the obvious example, or the most obvious one that pops into my mind is, sometimes you get patients that come in and they're talking, and while they're talking, it suddenly dawns on you that, wait a second, I don't think I can meet the expectations of this patient. Then that whole sequence of events starts where you think, am I the right clinician to treat this patient? Or better, who could I refer this to, which will make more sense, or more experience in this capacity? That's one example, but generally speaking, in any given situation, normally your gut is a good indicator. Number five, people forget what you said, but people never forget how you made them feel. And when I talk about people, I don't just mean patients, I mean generally anybody it goes through in life. And if you ask, a patient, oh, what do you think of so-and-so dentist? Most of the time, you're not going to say there's a dog barking somewhere. Yeah, there is. But that's fine. I am in a hotel lobby somewhere. But what I was saying, if you ask somebody, what do you think of so-and-so? Most of the time, they won't tell you, oh, this so-and-so said this. The first thing they're going to say is, oh, so-and-so is, I don't know, nice, horrible, XYZ. Because they remember how you made them feel. And I always keep this in mind when I'm treating patients, especially, that whenever you leave a conversation, leave it on a positive. Because people tend to remember the end of a conversation just before they leave as a lasting memory. The reason that I say that is many years ago when I was doing my thesis on dental fear, there was this article that I came across. I think it was like a Brazilian article that they had translated over to English. It said that children tend to remember an experience based on how the ending of the experience was in the dental practice. So if they leave the appointment on a happy note, they tend to remember that experience as a very positive experience. But I mean, that doesn't just apply to dental anxiety, dental fear, children, dental setting. That's all parts of life. I hope that makes sense because this is getting really, really mushy right now. Number 6, right, which is bring your best version home also. Every morning, like everybody else, you wake up, you put your nice clothes on, freshen up, look nice, smell nice. You go and see 20, 30 patients. I'm talking as a dentist here, but you could be doing any job here. This applies to anything. And then you give it your all, right? You give it your best. You work hard. You put all the effort in. You give it your best. And then as soon as it hits 5 p.m., you get in your car and you're shattered and tired because you've given all your energy out here to the world, and then you go home. If everyone's really honest, do they really give it their best at home? And the question is, why not? Because you just spent the whole day dealing with pretty much strangers and dealing with the best you, and then you go home to your family and you don't give them the best you. Don't they deserve the best version of you as well? Alright, so it's almost partly that you take something for granted because it's there. And I don't think that's fair. And that's something I'll try to consciously change this year. I say, give the best at work, but you gotta also, when you're driving home, be like, okay, now is the time to do my best version of home. Number 7, and we're getting towards the end here. Number 7 is no amount of money is ever enough. And this is very, very mushy, and this is very, very all stoic, right? But it's become more and more conscious to me, right? That there's always like a gauge, or like a checkpoint. That's probably a better word, checkpoint. And then you're always aiming toward. I've got 2 stories for this to really hit this point home. One is recently, and I'm going to brag here, okay, because I was coming back from abroad in business class, and I don't normally fly business class, but this time I had to. It's a long story, and it was on Emirates, and Emirates has got this really nice sky lounge, and I thought, hey, I've got this nice camera, got sky lounge here, and we'll go and take some nice shots in the sky lounge. And I'm sat there, I thought, oh, this is got some nice light and everything, and this lady sits next to me. And we're talking, and she's talking about her husband who's wandering around on the other side of the sky lounge, totally oblivious that we sat there. And long story short, they're retired couple. I mean, she is, but he wants him to retire. And they're all like a chain of nursing homes and whatnot. She says something that kind of resonates with me. She goes, it's never enough. They've got all the money they have in the world, but they still can't hit that number where it's enough. They're at the point in life where having more money will not change their lifestyle significantly. But even at that age, it's still not enough. And it's this idea of hitting a checkpoint and then the gauge changing. And this happens to everybody. When you're in high school, you think, okay, you know what, I need to do my GCSEs. And then you hit it, right? And you can't wait to hit it, and that's done that. And then it's your A-levels. You think, okay, you know what, I really need to do my A-levels, You do that, and then you hit it, and then it's done. And you think, oh, you know what, I need to get to university, and then that 5 years, and then you work your butt off, and then you get there, and then it's not enough again, because then you've hit that, you celebrate for the day, and then it's the next checkpoint, and then it's like, oh, my foundation training, then my other facial training, and it goes on. Money is very similar in that aspect. It will inflate or deflate depending on how much you're making, but your lifestyle will accommodate to that. But relying totally on or once I get to this checkpoint financially or whatever, then this is going to happen. It's never going to happen that way. That's been a nice little reminder for me, as in, you can't wait for them checkpoints to be like, okay, that's enough, because it's never going to be enough. Number 9, and this is another one that I personally had a hard time learning, and as they say, you learn, a lesson repeats itself until you learn, is that some people are in your life for a season. They're only supposed to be in your life for a season, right? And naturally relationships with people, friends, everything kind of fizzles away, and the ones that are supposed to stay, and the ones that are in that season, they naturally walk away, and it's alright to let them walk away. You shouldn't feel sad about it, especially in times like this when you're in Christmas. I'm sure there's many people sat at home thinking, oh my god, I'm alone, and where's all my friends, and I used to have like 20, I've got like 3, right? And you realise that, and I heard a good analogy recently that kind of like hit home for me. It's like when you got like a rocket ship, right, that's going to the space. It has boosters attached to it, and at a certain altitude the boosters have to come off for the next stage of the rocket to go to the next stage. It's a little bit like friendships, where some people in life are only meant to be there for a certain altitude. And I don't mean dropping friends here or nothing like that. I just mean they're in your life for a season or for that period of time. Then the next bunch come, but you're so watchful of the ones that you lost. You're probably reluctant to make new friends, and I've heard this story many times, especially as you get older. Your circle gets smaller, which is sad, because on the flip side, this year, I've reached out to about 3 dentists that I never used to speak to before, who was admiring their work on Instagram, who've become mentors of mine. So there are people out there who are amazing people that you can add to your circle. And number 10, and this is probably my favourite one, which is, nobody really knows what's going on. This has been like the final level of realization this year, as it nobody has a clue what's going on. Everyone's kind of faking it, and I realize that because I've met people now. I'm blessed to have met people kind of all over the world. I went to university, there's loads of international students, people that are not in dentistry, that do different types of business. I met people who are in dentists, I met people who used to be pharmacists that became dentists. I know dentists now that are going to computer technology and machine learning and stuff. Everyone's kind of winging it. And the funny thing is, other people think that somebody else has the answers, so to speak, on life and whatever. The reality is, nobody really knows what's going on. Everyone's kind of winging it and kind of pretending like they know, which is liberating, because most of the people are on this drastic search to, get the right cheat codes to life almost. And there is none. The right cheat code is if you're actually living the life that you want to live. That sounds super cheesy, and I agree that is super cheesy, but that's the ultimate and final conclusion that I've come to in 2025. And that's the last reflection I've got on here while I'm waiting for this room to be made with this nice fancy tree in the background. And yeah, that's it. I hope this rambling on that I've been doing has been worth it, because this video is getting super long, I can see on the screen right there. But to leave this video on a much happy, positive note, I'm just going to move out the way and let the camera focus on this tree, because I think this is such a beautiful tree. Actually, I'm going to get up and make some nice shots of it in a second. Actually, you know what, let's do that now.